It's golf time again on Prime Sports Network as we're doing double duty. We actually gave the hint that we would be potentially doing this on our last show, and that is previewing the Players' Championship the same week that we preview the Arnold Palmer Invitational, which just got underway earlier today. This is a Thursday recording, exactly 1 week before the Players picks up. And that's because Jared is going on vacation. So the best way to make sure that we get Jared and his take on this event is to make sure that we do this early. And really, the only thing, Jared, that we miss is this week. Everything else is the same stats. We got the odds for all the big events, like the Players are already out. You can get those in Sportsbook Futures. So the odds, and they're going to change a little bit, the odds, of course. But keeping in mind when we record most of our shows anyway, it's usually Monday, so it's usually early in the week anyhow before the odds change dramatically. So even the odds aren't going to be that big of a deal. It's just going to be the feel of players coming in or out. I mean, coming in from Arnold Palmer and into TPC.
Yeah, and I do think obviously how guys perform at Bay Hill matters, and I think you're going to want to factor that in, when we get those results on Sunday night, because they're not super similar golf courses, but they're Florida golf courses. They're Bermuda greens, same type of grass, so there's going to be some crossover there. The other thing I'd say too is, in most cases, players' odds are going to get better for us bettors between now and Monday. I mean, the futures odds they post tend to be not so great numbers. We're giving.
You're talking about the favorites or the contenders or even the long shots.
Most guys I think will end up either at the same odds on Monday or higher odds on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, I was already looking at like, for instance, I can see bargains right now being potentially if they play well this week. I could see Tyrrell Hatton at 65-1 being a bargain.
He was the only guy that stuck out. Hatton was the only one that stuck out to me where I was surprised to see him at what was he, 65-1?
65, yeah. Bradley's at 65. I think those are the two. So not a lot. So,
and if you see someone playing well at Bay Hill over the next couple of days that you think you want to bet for the Players, then I'd bet him.
Here's one.
Otherwise, though,
I got one. Cameron Young. He's 40-1 now. If he plays well this week, I bet you he's 25-1.
Yep. Does he have any history at the Players?
He just missed
played it before. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, exactly. Guys like that. I'm not saying everyone's odds are going to get better.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, they'll get better. So we're talking about picks today, but I'm not actually placing many bets at this stage.
Exactly.
I'm going to wait till Monday.
Yes, we're going to give our official picks because that's just what we're going to do. But yes, that's why we're going to try to do our best to let you know what we like and what we might even like more if players were to play well this week, or vice versa. So, and again, also schedule wise, so you will not be back until match play week. So we'll be doing match play week back to our Monday schedule, and then in place of you on the 13th, Len Hochberg will be joining us again. Will be joining me from RotoWire, and we're trying to see if Jan Stevenson could make a return visit as well. So hopefully, we've got Len locked in. Hopefully, we can get Jan locked in as well. And if we can do that, that'd be great. Some really good pinch hitters for Jared, and then you make your return the week after. So it's not a bad week, actually, to have off the Valspar, because the Valspar is going to have a field that might be similar. You think it's going to be any better than Honda?
Probably not. I'm assuming Burns is going to play as the defending champ.
Oh, he better. He's won there twice.
He's not. Yeah, he had a rough Thursday at Bay Hill, and generally isn't playing very well. So, but it's not going to be much better than Honda if it is.
Okay. So anyway, that's our upcoming schedule, and look for one and dones. It's early, but let's just go this direction, because we already. This is the Players, so we definitely had an eye on what we were thinking about, and we've been saying this for all season. For a few months, that this was going to be a very tough event to handicap, and then therefore maybe even tougher to decide which way to go for your one and done. Because as you're going to see as we go through this, there's a lot of players that have been really good here and really bad here at the same time. So picking when they're going to do well here, very hard. So that's why I think this is probably, out of all the big money events, this might be the most volatile.
Yeah, I mean, like all these Florida courses we've talked about, PGA National, Bay Hill, and Sawgrass here, they're just volatile golf courses and this one especially, because you can go low here if you're on your game. You can also shoot very high scores because of all the water in play.
Yes.
So, and then what makes it trickiest for one and done is it's the single biggest prize pool of the entire season. It's $25 million.
Oh, wow.
These elevated events are $20 million. The majors are like 15 to 18 million. Players is the biggest prize pool of the entire year.
Yeah, you think they don't know what they're doing?
Yeah,
they knew this. They knew this was going to be easy.
So honestly, I'm probably eyeing Jon Rahm and Scottie Scheffler, who are just the two best players, kind of by far right now. I mean, I know Rory was in good form up until maybe a few weeks ago, but he's not playing too well lately. So,
You're right.
I don't know. To me, like biggest prize pool, I'm just going to use the best players.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think that Rahm is a definite possibility. Matter of fact, I was saying to myself a couple of days ago, going over this, actually yesterday when I was going over the event, and I was saying, it would be so good since I picked Scheffler for one and done. Man, if he could just, whether he wins or gives me a good, good showing, top 5, just don't let it be Jon Rahm. Because I think I might want to take him for players. Because, again, you know how hard it is. We've said it all before. It's so hard for these guys, even when they're on these winning streaks, to just keep winning. But where do I see Rahm's? And he's not going to say it. And he's not even going to probably – maybe he will admit it to himself. But even if he doesn't admit it to himself, he knows next week is the one he prefer. As much as Arnold Palmer is a good win, players is one that he wants. So if he plays well this week, stays in momentum form, I think Rahm might be a really good one and done next week.
And you look at his players' results. I mean, 55th last year, 9th and 12th the 2 previous years. Was it one of those 2 years he was leading on the back 9 on Sunday, and he hit a ball in the water on that. I think it was the first par 5 on the back 9. He was in the bunker. His caddy was telling him not to do this. Lay up. Rahm was, no, I'm going to go for it, and he puts it in the water, and that was kind of the last week we heard of him that day.
I had him that week.
Me too.
Oh, did you? Yeah. So there are a few times that I've had Jon Rahm in big events. Masters was one of them. TPC was another where he just really let me down. But let's keep in mind, going into last year for Rahm at TPC, he had been trending really well. Every week, every year was better than the other. So you really felt last year was a good time to have him win, and then he goes completely the opposite. So again, maybe that'll. So Rahm is a good one and done for next week. I will say this: if he wins this week, I don't know if I'd take him next week. That'd be just going. That's like Tiger Woods territory.
Yeah.
So that would be the only reason why I might think twice about taking him next week. At TPC one and done. If I hadn't already taken him, I would consider Justin Thomas, because Justin Thomas is as consistent as there is at this golf course.
Yeah. He's just not playing that well right now, though. That's my issue with Justin Thomas. I mean, I was watching him this morning at Bay Hill, and just off his game. That not the he's usually such a good iron player, but he's just not right now. So that would worry me a bit.
But again, remember when we talked about in the preview for the event, let's keep an eye on Justin Thomas at places where he is good, because he was good at Phoenix, played well at Phoenix, not so good at Genesis, not so good at Bay Hill. So it was almost like it would be a bonus if he played well at Bay Hill heading into Players. And that's kind of the way I'm going to look. I would look at it. Again, I already took Justin Thomas, so I can't. Am I one and done? But hey, out there, if you're thinking about and look, out of all the players that have had at least 7 appearances at Players, he is the only player to never miss a cut. So,
second in the course history over the last 5 years, which we'll look at in a bit here.
Yeah, so Thomas is a good one. You know what? If I haven't taken him yet, Max Homa.
Yeah, I was going to say Homa. Yep. because he's played here twice. I think he missed cut the first time, and he came. Was it 13th? Yeah, 13th last year. 13th last year, losing strokes putting, and the ball striking stuff was awesome. So,
and I know
two other guys for me that they don't have great course history, but again, I don't care too much about that here. Xander Schauffele and Tony Finau both kind of pop for me based on the numbers I'm looking at for this event. So they'll be in the mix for me.
Schauffele is that typical TPC player, and maybe so is Finau, but really Schauffele, who has the runner-up and then 3 missed cuts. So that's
there you go.
Yeah, and Zalatoris, I think if as long as he makes the cut this week, I would consider him next week in a one and done, especially if he finds a way into the top 20, top 15 this week. So he's somebody I'd be looking at for one and done. And maybe a few of the others are the ones that we'll be talking about with our picks, because for the first time this year, I'm going to let you guess who it is. For the first time this year, I decided to put a player in to my picks that you already have.
Oh, I know who it is.
You do?
Yeah, Jason Day.
No.
No?
No.
Oh.
We'll
find out.
We'll find out. So, all right. Let's get into this now for our. Oh, by the way, as regarding the one and dones, a shout out to one of our viewers, Ambrose Brugman. Does that sound pretty good? Brugman?
Yeah, sounds right.
It sounds pretty good. Anyway, he commented that he's been waiting all weekend for our show. That's awesome, Ambrose. We appreciate that. And by the way, he did ask, because sometimes I forget to put the timestamps on there. So he did remind me, and I did that. And that's why anybody, just like Ambrose, if you want any specific things that we can accommodate, like the timestamps, this way, when you take a look at the videos, you know exactly where, hey, you know what, that's where the one and done talk is. That's where the picks and analysis of this week's event is. That's where whatever is. It's all lined up for you, the timestamp. So we were able to put that together for Ambrose as well. And I think Ambrose is going to be happy this week, so he doesn't have to wait for the weekend, because this is going to be posted on Friday. So if this was a regular event, I wouldn't do it. But because it's the players, I think it does make sense that if you're going to do it early, you might as well do it early for like the Masters or the Players.
Yeah.
So, we even talked about maybe doing the Masters on a Sunday, which is possible. So anyway, but that's a month away. Okay, now I want to remind everybody that our picks segment brought to you by playbooksports.com. Check them out not only on the website, but at Playbook Experts, the new YouTube channel with Mark Lawrence. Mark and I are actually going to do a college basketball report on this channel following this show. So we're going to talk about the conference basketball, college basketball tournament action coming up soon. A lot of them have already started. Well, some have started. All the big ones starting next week. And then really soon we'll be talking about the big tournament coming up. We'll have a preview show for the tournament, predictions, odds, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll have shows throughout the tournament. So check with us and Mark Lawrence, and he'll have his own show that he does every Wednesday, even though he didn't record it this week because he's just too darn busy with that March Madness playbook guide that's coming out. So can't wait to see what that looks like. Let's get it started, and I'll throw the picks on here. Actually, you know what? Before I put the picks on, I'm gonna show you stats. Jared's stats of the week. So let's do that first. Let's eliminate Jared, and then there are the 3 stats. Of course, you're always going to get the course history over the last 5 years. This week, Jared added strokes gained approach 50% in the last year and 50% in the last 2 months, and he also added the top 10 Pete Dye course records stats. The last 2 years, you got the top 10 there. Those are the top 10 players for all 3 categories. And of course, you can obviously pause the screen, give you all the time of the world to check out all of those stats. So, and while Jared explains why he added those 2 new stats this week, and I'm not sure if we've seen them before, I'm going to go ahead and put the picks ticker right in there so you can see what our picks are going to be like this week. All right, so explain yourself, young man.
Yeah, so strokes gained approach is always the most predictive stat for literally any tournament out there. It's more so at TPC Sawgrass though. Strokes gained approach is about 3 times more predictive looking at guys who finish in the top 10 than strokes gained off the tee and strokes gained around the green. It's usually like 2 times as predictive, but it's 3 times more predictive here. You look at like the past results the last few years of this tournament, you see guys losing strokes off the tee and still doing well. Cameron Smith lost 5 strokes off the tee last year and won because he was so good on approach and so good putting. So I really weighed strokes gained approach heavily in my model this week.
So explain what that is.
Strokes gained approach. It's weighing who's best on their second shot or on a par 5 third shot
after their first shot.
Yeah.
So basically, Is it everything after their first shot?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So it's basically who's playing best with their irons, who's hitting the most best approach shots. So for this top 10 list, I wanted to look at a combination of who's been best over the last 12 months, so more of a long-term thing, than who's hot right now, who's been best over the past 2 months. So I took 50% of both, weighed them equally. That's your top 10. Xander at 1, Tom Hoge at 2. Hoagie's always near the top of these strokes gained approach lists. He's just a really good iron player. Then you can see the rest of the top 10 there.
And then the Pete Dye golf courses, that's a good one. How many are there, by the way?
Yeah. So on the regular rotation, Harbor Town, where they play Heritage, is a Pete Dye. The Stadium course.
Big surprise to see Shane Lowry at the top 10, because I mentioned last week about thinking of taking him on the one and done at RBC.
Yep. Yeah, Harbor Town Stadium course. Kiowa Island was a Pete Dye where Phil won the PGA a couple of years back. There's not a ton of them. TPC River Highlands is another Pete Dye course, and then of course TPC Sawgrass isn't. I think Pete Dye courses they tend to be unique. They tend to be challenging as far as like eye lines. He can kind of play tricks on you, give you tough landing spots on certain holes. So I think there is correlation from one Pete Dye course to the next. So I wanted to look at who does best on his designs.
All right, so there you go. Now let's throw in the trends that I found out for this week, and let's go with some of the best ones and just the overall interesting history, stats and things of that nature. Now let's keep in mind that it's only been the last 3 years that the tournament has moved back to the March schedule. And that is actually a pretty interesting change because the winds change and it is so, and the weather. So the overall, the how hot it is and the winds change. So you do get a difference. But not so much that I'm, going to be, all right, well, how does he look here in this time of the year? And you don't have to go too crazy into that because, again, it doesn't matter. TPC is just so crazy from year to year. I wouldn't worry about that. But I just wanted to point that out because the last 3 years, the last three winners have all been top 10 ranked players. And, of course, Smith won it last year. I was the 10th ranked player. And that is something to keep in mind. Now, as far as overall trends, international players have won 12 of the last 21, including 5 of the last 8. Of course, Cam won last year. 6 of the last 9 are major champs. That should not be a surprise in this golf course. Then the last 19 winners ranked inside the top 100. Again, not a surprise. Even though there are going to be a lot of players inside that top 100, Jared, that you got to count. Because you want to know how I was looking at last year's leaderboard. Mm-hmm. This is the perfect example of what we're talking about, how crazy this golf course can be. I'm going to go over the top 10, all the players that finished in the top 10 last year in their rankings in the order. 10, 322nd, 27th, 41st, 86th, 238th, 48th, 252nd, 9th, 163rd, 83rd, and 3rd. That's how crazy it is. It was in the top 10 last year, and that's not a surprise. That's what happens here at Players. But again, that doesn't mean I wouldn't go with a long shot. I would just make sure that my long shots have the talent, that 100 ranked talent that, they put it all together in that 1 week.
Yeah. I think because of the volatility of the course, this is a week more so than, somewhere like Riviera or even like Bay Hill this week, I'm more likely to bet some long shots this week at the Players because there's the wild swings you can see from round to round here. And yeah, I think those world rankings you just rattled off show that these longer shots can win here. It is possible.
And another thing I found out too, and I didn't go through the whole board, but I was just doing a few of them, and I just noticed it doing it. Jordan Spieth in his first appearance finished fourth. Xander Schauffele and Kevin Kisner finished second on their first appearance. And then if you look at it, Jordan Spieth, after finishing fourth in his first appearance, has never had another top 40. Xander Schauffele, as I mentioned, since that second place finish, has not made a cut. And Kevin Kisner is the only one that's a little bit kind of, he's like that crazy long shot guy at this golf course because not only did he do it in his first appearance in 2015 in that playoff loss, that was a very dramatic one too. That was with Ricky Fowler. But he also came back and had a fourth place finish last year. So, but anyway, that's just, I thought, pretty interesting. And again, it shows you that just because they got off to a great start at this golf course meant nothing the rest of the way. No players ever won back-to-back titles at TPC, and that's not going to happen this year, of course. Tiger Woods is the only player to win multiple TPC titles since 2003. So that's remember we talked about Bay Hill and that you can do it back. You can do it twice there. You have a lot of that. Tiger 8 times and all that. But even Tiger, how about Tiger? Tiger Woods. Since his name is on my mind, if you look at the stats, his top 10 career history stats, TPC is the worst percentage of top 10s in his career. Just 16%. Only 5 top 10s and 19 appearances at Players. So if Tiger Woods can't figure out how to play at Players, then nobody can. Yeah. And then some of the ones that I think are also a little bit more interesting. Let's see. And this could be important on how they do this week. The last 11 winners were coming off a top 35 in the previous event. So, and again, it wasn't always Bay Hill. It could have been something else. So you want a player that's playing well coming into TPC 11 consecutive years. So I thought that was interesting too.
You sent me this list, and the two I pulled out as being important were that one. So I think, you want someone coming in with at least some bit of form.
Yes.
And the other one was the last 15 winners had registered at least one previous top 25 here.
Yes.
So you gotta have someone that has at least had some success here. And obviously, I guess in the last 15 years, we haven't had a first time winner, first time at the course. So
yep.
You want some experience.
Yeah. So it's, look, what I like about the golf course and handicapping it is there are a lot of interesting things to go with that seem like they make sense. And whether it's 11 straight of this or 15 straight of that, but finding the right player, that's the hard part. Okay. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get started now with the odds in the top players. And it's always the top 3, Rahm, McIlroy, and Scheffler. And we talked about Rahm and his stats here. The only thing with Rahm is I can't take him in my picks because of his odds, and I know you're not going to take him based on his odds either. That doesn't mean I won't take him one and done, but at 7-1, which is I'm sure pretty much where he'll be next week. McIlroy 10-1, Scheffler 12-1 range. That might change a little bit here or there. McIlroy's been pretty solid here, but he's also had some bad showings, but he's only won here once, 2019, and he only has one top 10 in his last 6 years, and that was his win.
Yeah, I have him 27th in this field in course history, and then he's also 59th in this field on those Pete Dye courses. So maybe something about those Pete Dye courses he doesn't like. That's enough for me to have no interest in betting Rory at that number. If you can get 12-1 on Scotty Scheffler, that's not bad.
Right now, in case it goes down. Yeah,
exactly.
Because that could go down 8-1.
I was gonna say he is playing well at Bay Hill. Looks like he's going to be in the mix on the weekend. So, Scheffler's the guy. If you want him, maybe take him now.
I know. Here's the thing on Scheffler that's interesting though. He's played here twice, missed the cut, and was 55th last year. Part of the reason he was 55th, and I checked this out on about 15 players that I was just curious about. How did they do on 17? It's two reasons. One, because it's just before the 18th hole, and if you don't play well there, chances are it's going to be hard to win this event if you're not playing well on 17. Well, Scotty Scheffler is just about as bad as I've seen out of the players that I looked at. Last year on 17, in 3 of the 4, one he parred. He had bogey, double. So that was part of the reason he finished 55th. So he's never finished under par in the 2 visits, and he's got that in his head how it was at 17 the previous year. So just keep that in mind with Scotty Scheffler next week. Thomas, we talked about him. He's got 7 out of 7 cuts, 6 of those top 35s. He's got the win. So again, one of the very few players that has actually been pretty consistent here, but kind of hard to take unless you feel like he's at least top 35 next week. I mean, at Bay Hill.
Yeah, I mean, at 14-1, that the course history is baked into his number. I mean, he got to like 28-1 for at Bay Hill, and his odds were twice what they are at the player. So the course history is definitely baked into that number.
Schauffele and Morikawa 18-1. Again, we mentioned Schauffele. Morikawa miscut 41st. So not a lot to go with both players. But you say Schauffele is somebody that you have your eye on?
Yeah, Xander pops for me just because he's been one of, if not the best. Well, I think he was number 2. Was he number 2 on my? He was number 1 on my strokes gained approach top 10.
Okay.
His irons have just been so good, and I think that is so important here. The 3 missed cuts in a row is definitely scary. But I was hoping that would lower his odds. Like I was hoping to maybe get Xander at 25-1 because he's missed 3 cuts here in a row. But
that's true.
Xander is someone I would not bet now at 18-1. But if Monday he gets to 25-1, I'd definitely be interested. And then Morikawa, this course seems like it'd be perfect for him because it's not a super long course. It's more of an accuracy course. Again, iron play is so key, and to me, Morikawa is one of the 5 best approach guys in the world. But it's that Bermuda putting that we talked about on last week's show. He's just a very bad Bermuda putter, which worries me a bit. But I'm still interested in Morikawa if I can get him at 20 or 22-1.
Well, see how he putts this week.
Yep.
Top 35. Maybe you're putting okay. Get you a little bit of confidence going. That could be really important. By the way, I didn't mention this in the trends, but appearances. Appearances are definitely important. And let's see. The last 10 first-time winners averaged 6.8 appearances before winning. And during that time, the last 10 first-time winners, only Siwoo Kim in 2017 made less than 5 appearances. So, and that was kind of an upset when Siwoo won that because he hadn't, he didn't do anything. What was he like? Ranked like 90th or something in the world at the time.
Yeah.
Had only played there once. Nobody expected it. It came from nowhere. So unless that happens again, the bottom line is, now look, the players are definitely, you got a lot more talented players that have been under 5 appearances here, like Morikawa and Homa and Zalatoris. But that's just something that, we talked about how hard it is to play on the golf course and try to figure it out. Well, just imagine how hard it is for someone that's only been there twice.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad you mentioned Siwoo too, because it's funny. We talked about the Pete Dye stuff. He's an awesome Pete Dye player. He won the Players. He won Amex, which again has the stadium course, and he also has a second place at Heritage.
Okay.
So he's kind of a poster boy for the Pete Dye specialist.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll win 2 this year, but definitely something that we should keep an eye on for next year.
For sure. Yep.
All right. And by the way, I do think Schauffele and maybe even Morikawa, I bet you their odds are like 22-1 next week.
Yeah, me too.
I can't imagine 18-1 with that history. Cantlay's 20-1, but he's been all right. Couple top 25s here, 3 must cuts there. So, and Finau was another one you said you liked. He has 1 top 25 and 6 appearances with 4 missed cuts. So why Finau?
Kind of the same deal as Xander. The course history isn't good, but I don't care that much about that this week. Finau's form coming in is really good. I mean, the iron play he's gained with his approach shots in 6 straight events. I just think he's another guy. If I can get him at 25-1, I'd be more interested.
Look, I think everything that we're saying is holds true for a guy like Finau.
Yep.
We don't really care that he's had 4 missed cuts out of 6 because he has had that one top 25, which is important based on our stats. And
right.
This is like if he wins next week and we look at his resume next year when we're going over it, he's just going to fit in like everybody else.
Right. Exactly.
Home is 22-1 and Zalatoris is 25-1. I think this is where you start getting some really good bargains. Matter of fact, we finally get to one of our picks. Actually, no, both of our picks. It's actually your top pick. What?
Zalatoris is the guy?
No.
Okay.
No, he's not.
Okay.
You know what? I liked him, though. Good. So he was a guy that was on my list that I scratched off after I saw you picked him. So I do like him next week. But there was another player that I had my sights on just the entire time. All right, so Homa, again, we're talking about Homa. I think next week could be that really big, well, it's not a major, but it's the next best thing win to kind of get it going for him. And Zalatoris, as we talked about, has played pretty well there his first 2 visits.
Yeah, so I like Zalatoris at 25-1. That's a number I don't think will get much better, if at all. So if you like Zalatoris, I do think 25 is fair. 12th in course history here, 21st in 2021, 26th last year, and he lost putting both those tournaments. He gained 6.5 and then 7 strokes tee to green. So the tee to green stuff has been good enough to win. He just needs to find a hotter putter, and he'll be there. And I go back to strokes gained approach. Like, to me, Zalatoris is one of the 10, maybe one of the 5 best iron players in the game right now. So I think this course should fit him well.
Yep. And then you have Hovland is 25-1. He's made 2 visits, 9th last year. And he actually had some problems, by the way, on 17 last year. Even though he finished 9th. Maybe this is a good thing, because even though he finished 9th, he was 3 over on 17 last year. Double and a bogey. Out of the 4 trips. So, but anyway, Hovland might be a pretty good fit eventually for this course. I'm not so sure this year, but yeah, he's somebody that I would keep an eye on.
Yeah, anywhere that around the green doesn't matter too much. I like Viktor Hovland because I still think he really struggles there. And again, around the green is not super important at Sawgrass. So I do think it's a pretty good spot for him.
Now, Spieth, remember we said 4th, first time, 2014. Since then, no top 40s. With 5 missed cuts. So, and he's playing well so far today. If he has a good week, if he has a top 10, are you interested in him next week?
It'd probably have to be like 30-1 for me to bet Spieth or be interested in him. I know his ball striking has been really good, and I know he led the morning wave today on Thursday at Bay Hill in strokes gained tee to green. He actually lost strokes putting, which he's done in the previous 3 events.
He hasn't gotten over that,
it's so weird. He used to be the best putter in the world. Now he's struggling. But if he can, again, the ball striking's been good enough to win if he can just figure out the putter.
Okay, 28-1 area. Fitzpatrick Matsuyama. Has a top 20 out of 3. Fitzpatrick has 1 top 10 with 3 missed cuts. And Matsuyama has been pretty good here. Matter of fact, I liked Matsuyama. I just didn't like his odds because he has 5 top 25s in 7 appearances with 2 top 10s. Unfortunately, he's missed 2 out of 3 cuts. Did not play last year. I'm not sure what happened last year. I don't know if he was injured or what took place last year. I can't remember. But anyway, I thought Matsuyama, out of those 3 players, he was the one that I was looking at.
Yeah, and if you remember, too, the COVID year where this got canceled, he was leading after round 1. And that was, the last time we saw golf for a few months. So the course history is good, but he's just not playing that well. And I know there was a report yesterday and Wednesday before API started that he was dealing with some neck issues. So let's keep an eye on that. I mean, yeah, I don't like the odds on him here. He was 60-1 for the API.
Yeah.
If he gets back down to that range for the players, I might take a shot on him.
Okay. Now we get to the player that we both have.
Nice.
Shane Lowry.
Love it.
35-1. Shane Lowry. And the reason for me is if you look at it, his last 2 years, 13th and 8th. That's very solid. And by the way, if he plays, like we said, if he's top 35 this week, I love him even more. Why? Because he's never made the cut at Bay Hill in 4 appearances. So if he finishes in the top 35 at Bay Hill this week, I love him next week for sure. And here's something that'll help him in case you don't recall. Maybe you do because you picked him. Last year on 17, round 3, hole-in-one.
Ooh, nice. I wish you could save that for this year. Maybe you can do it again. Yeah. Lowry looks awesome in everything I'm looking at. Now, I went on to look at the odds last night, and I was hoping he was better than 35-1. I guess they are factoring in the course history. But yeah, he's 13th in course history. Again, he's first on Pete Dye courses. He's the best player in this entire field on Pete Dye.
There you go.
He hit the ball tee to green well enough to win the Honda last week. He gained 10.9 strokes tee to green. That was second best in the field. He just lost a bit putting. He didn't make enough putts to win. Now, he's not a good Bermuda putter. It's his worst surface, which is a concern. But he's gained putting at Sawgrass in 3 of his last 4 trips here. Okay. So it might be something about these greens that he likes. And I do think if he can just putt that the ball strike looks like it's good enough for him to potentially win this thing.
And by the way, I think out of the megastars, he would be the top non-megastar for one and done that I would consider.
Yeah. Yep.
And here's another reason. Not only you got the Pete Dye, he has the more than 5 appearances, international player, major champ. He fills a lot of those roles that you're looking for a winner of players next week. Okay, now also taking a look at that area, Jason Day. You have him, and yes, I was just like Zalatoris. He was on my list, so I crossed him out though. But he was on my list. Might have taken him. Who knows? But why not? The 40-1 is really good, and he's been up and down here like everybody, but he's got the ups. He's got the 4 top 10s, the 2 top 5s. He won it in 2016.
Right.
And if he plays well again this week, once again, top 35, that's all I'm interested in, then why not? The odds at 40-1, that's really eye-catching.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Day on most of our shows so far. He's just playing really well. So John Rahm is obviously first in strokes gained total so far this year. Jason Day is second. So by strokes gained, he's been the second best player on the PGA Tour. And now he goes to a course where he's had success at, including that win in 2016. He has 8th and 5th place appearances among his last 3. So just kind of it's a good spot for him to pick up that win that we think he's going to get this year.
Another really good one and done candidate if you're not looking at the top dogs. Mm-hmm. Burns and Young are 40-1. So look, Young, if he continues to play well at Bay Hill, he's somebody to consider. Burns, no way. Not the way he's looked today. And don't forget what happened last year. He just fell completely apart in the final round. And this was part of the reason that we were saying he needs to play better in the big events. Because last year, he led after the second round, was second after the third round, and in the final round, he shot a 76 with a double bogey on 17. And he just had a miserable day. So we wound up 26th after starting the day in second. So, yeah, if he just continues to play poorly tomorrow, then forget his I just wait for Valspar. So
yeah, I mean, I love betting Burns in Florida. I don't know, maybe if he misses the cut at Bay Hill, we'll get like a 80-1 on him or something crazy, and then I probably have to take a shot. But yeah, he'd have to be in that range because he's just not playing well right now.
Okay, and then Fleetwood is at the 50-1 range, along with Connors, Fowler, and Siwoo Kim. I did put Fleetwood on my list, so he's in one of my picks. Because he has 3 top 25s out of 5, 2 top 10s, 1 top 5. And sure, I'd like him to definitely play well this week. He played well at Genesis. So if he plays well this week, I feel confident to remain on my list next week. Fowler is one of those players that's either got the win in the runner-up or he's terrible. So he's just too up, and he's got 6 missed cuts. So I just, but again, he's playing well. And
yes.
If he continues to play well, then who's to say that Ricky Fowler can't have one of those really good weeks next week?
He's playing well, and he's specifically playing well on those approach shots. His strokes gained approach over the last 3 tournaments, he's gained 4.2, 6.3, and 4.6. Those are all awesome numbers. So the irons are really hot. So, I mean, if that keeps up, and like you said, he's had success here.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised to see him in the mix on Sunday.
Again, he could be definitely another one-and-done candidate outside of the top players. Connors is interesting because he's played here 3 times, all good results, all under par, top 10 in 2021, and also I'd want him though to play well this week for sure because he's played well the last couple of years at Bay Hill. And I have to see him play well because, as we said earlier this week, no top 5 since August. So if he has a good result, not top 35, I want a top 10. If I get a top 10 out of Connors this week, I think next week he's somebody that I would look at. So if we were making these picks and he is coming off a top 10, I might have put him on my list.
Yeah, Connors is interesting. He plays well in Florida, as you said, at Bay Hill and then at Sawgrass here. He's also second on our Pete Dye list behind only Shane Lowry. I just always worry about the upside, like the winning ability with Connors. Like, I'd probably rather bet him top 10 than to actually win this thing.
Yeah, definitely not a one-and-done guy. And then we have to the 65-1 range. I actually have, let's see, you have Hatton, Woods, Bradley, Rose, Horschel, Mitchell. So out of that group, I have 2 players. I have Bradley and Hatton. So Bradley, in his last 4 trips to Bay Hill, to TPC, he has, actually in his last 4 trips to TPC, all top 30s with 2 top 10s. And so we've talked about how much he started to play well this year. So at 65-1, love him at that number. And I also like Hatton because, Hatton, even though only 1 top 15 with 3 missed cuts, he's playing well. If he plays well this week, definitely. And he was 13th last year at TPC, which was his best result.
Yeah, 65-1. That's just too high a number for Hatton just based on his talent. I mean, he was 35-1, I think, at Bay Hill, and I know he has the win at Bay Hill, so that's factored in. But 65 is just too big, so that is a good number, and that's a bet to make now if you want Hatton. And then Keegan Bradley's first in our course history over the last 5 years. Yeah. And like you said, he's playing well, so he's kind of like the poor man's Jason Day to me. Like veteran playing well at a place he likes. Like it's possible he picks up a win.
Tiger. What do you want to see out of Tiger before you even think of picking him this year? Anything?
Do we even know he's playing? I haven't heard it confirmed
that's his. Yeah, I believe that was his. From what I understand, I think that's what.
I think he kind of alluded to it that he might after Genesis, but I haven't seen it confirmed.
Yeah.
But I'm
not saying. Yeah, I mean, we're not picking him this week.
Yeah.
I mean, next week. But what would it take for you to see Tiger? And even think of taking
it's like at this point it's like the sustained good play because he has flashes, but it's just like it's so hard for him just to walk 18 holes. I just feel like by Saturday and especially Sunday he's just drained and he can't maintain the play he had early in the week. So
you definitely want good odds, like 80-1 or 100-1 or something. Because anything ludicrous like 50-1 or less, unless he plays well somewhere.
Yep.
It's okay. Mitchell may not be a bad play either. He was on my short list. Why not? 13th last year, best finish. And if he plays well at Arnold Palmer, then I think he's somebody to keep an eye on. So. Yeah,
good Florida player, and he had good results on the West Coast, 4th at Pebble, 5th at Genesis, where he's usually not good out there. So Mitchell has some interest for me.
80-1. We have players like Wise, Scott, Henley, Hoagie, and Thigala. Hoagie's on my list. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, he's one of my long shots. And why not? Because he has 3 top 35s, 1 top 25. I definitely want to see him play well this week. And if he does, I feel a lot more confident. If he doesn't play well this week, I probably wouldn't have taken him. But if he plays well enough, again, top 35, I like him. What about this group? Because Wise is off to a terrible start today.
Oh, he's off to a terrible start this year. He's been the most disappointing player to me on the tour so far. Just, I don't know, something. Him and Burns, they're just off right now.
I wonder what he changed. He must have changed something. I changed my swing. I changed my clubs. Yeah, I bet you he changed something.
He'll be back. He'll be back though. I mean, he's in a funk, but I think he'll be back.
He's young. Woodland's 90-1, and by the way, Chris Kirk's 90-1.
Chris Kirk, who's playing well again at Bay Hill, and has played well here, hasn't he?
No.
No, he has not. Okay.
Maybe he's
a good Florida golfer in general.
He's actually been awful. He has no top 10s in 11 appearances. So.
No, that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing he's been awful the last 4 times here. I have him coming 12th in 2017 and 13th in 2015.
Well, no top 10s. I mean, he's never had a top 10.
Oh, top 10s. You said sorry. Yep.
But yeah, he
does have some decent finishes. Yeah. Yep.
Woodland's also 90-1. So I think if he plays well this week, and that's important to note because he could play well. Who knows? I mean, we talked about him as a good play. Yep. So look out for Woodland. He has 1 top 15 in 10 appearances. So actually he has a worse record than Kirk because you throw in 6 missed cuts. Power, I think, was interesting because he's got 2 top 35s, under par in both. So if he plays well this week, I know that's a nice number at 100-1 that I would look at. And Brian Harman's at 100-1. If he plays well this week, I would consider him a long shot next week because he hasn't done much so far this year, and he has a decent enough resume at TPC.
Yeah, I looked at him as a potential bet. Harman has lost strokes on approach in 5 straight events now. So something's up with the iron game. So, that's enough for me to cross him off my list.
And as far as super long shots, mine is Sepp Straka at 150-1. You're going to go with Johnny Vegas at 200-1. Straka was 9th last year, and here's the part of the reason why I like him. First of all, he had this good showing again last week at Honda. So if he plays well this week, I like him next week. He finished 9th, and in the second round, he had a 7 on 17.
Ooh,
that's losing 4 strokes.
Wow,
which would have put him in 3rd place in this event, just on 1 hole. So, and by the way, that was in round 2. He came back in round 3 with a birdie. So, I would look at Sepp Straka as an interesting super long shot if he plays well this week. And you've got Vegas. Why Vegas this week?
Yeah, I had Vegas at Honda, and so I was tracking him pretty closely. He got off to a rough start. I was actually watching him, and he was just like fighting his swing. Like every other iron he hit, he'd be dropping the club because he hated it so much. But on Sunday, he really got to figure. He had an awesome Sunday. I don't know if you saw. He shot like -6 or -7 on Sunday. And just generally, his ball striking has been really good for a while now. This year, so basically since January 1st, he is 8th best in this field tee to green, 2nd best off the tee,
really?
22nd best on approach. And he's also 17th in course history here. That includes a 3rd place finish at the Players in 2019. So 200-1 long shot, but I do think Vegas has the ball striking ability to compete at this course.
He has, 2 top 10s and 1 top 5 in 9 appearances. So that's fine. That's good.
Yep.
Better than a lot of other players. And the other one I wanted to mention was Nick Taylor, because he actually has gotten off to a good start again this week.
Saw that, yep.
And remember, if you take a look, he's only had 1 top 20 at Players, but that's fine. That's what we want. So I would, if Taylor has a good week this week, I would be like, hey, why? And now I don't see him in the field yet. I don't know what his qualifications would be because of his ranking. I don't know if he could get in or not. That's the thing. So I don't know. And the other Taylor was off to a good start again too. Ben Taylor.
Ah, my guy.
Yeah, he got off to a good start. It was early, but I think he was like 2 under through like 4 holes or something like that. So
Yeah, I'm trying to see. So what I'm looking at has Nick Taylor in the field for
Okay.
the players, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Is it on the field, the website itself?
No, it's on some other website.
It's on the sports
I'm
book?
not sure because I was looking last night. Brendan Steele was really popping for me as an option, but he's not in the field as far as I can tell.
Okay.
He's a really good he's a really good approach player. So if he was in the field, he'd be interesting, but it looks like he's not.
All right, so there you go. Those are all of our early picks for the players. Everything we can do to get you guys ready, and especially, hey, why not? It's a Friday when you're seeing this, so get you real early and prepared. And not that we're gonna make this a habit, but better to get in your feelings on this really big event than not at all. And we'll talk to you when you get back. We'll get your picks. And I'll post them, of course, on the 13th when we do our next show for the Valspar. So we'll have that so everybody can see who you like for the Valspar, and maybe you could even let me know who you're thinking about for one and dones. I'll let the audience know what your one and done potential list is. Who your short list is for Valspar, and that's it. So we'll enjoy your vacation. It's a perfect time to take it with the football season just before. See, I think for you being the football draft sharks guy, that couldn't be that's like the most perfect time to take your vacation. 10 days, 2 weeks, right before free agency starts.
It's like the only time I can take a vacation.
Yeah, right?
I'm not allowed to any other time.
See? So perfect. And we'll talk to you when you get back, and we'll talk to everybody out there, all our viewers, when we return on the 13th. Jared and I together will be back on the 20th. So, Jared, again, enjoy your trip, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yep. Thanks, Greg.
You got it.